Welcome to Overthinking Episode 8, where we take fun, interesting ideas, overanalyze them, and run them to their logical conclusions, all in the name of exploration, education, and most importantly, entertainment.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Devin.
And we don't claim to be experts in any of the topics discussed here today. We simply find these ideas interesting as we hash them out in real time. Get ready to join us for an exciting, fun, and crazy ride to nowhere.
This week, we are posted up in your bathroom. So give us a minute. This show usually runs for an hour and a half. We're going to need that time, all right? Just chill out.
So any echo you hear, that's what it's from. It's from us recording in your bathroom. Notoriously the best place to record a podcast.
It's really good for the audio, the acoustics. Like,
of course.
You know this because you sing in the shower and you're like, oh, I sound better in the shower. Like,
yeah.
It's the whole idea.
I had a person I was helping coach do a podcast, and I'm like, can I do a podcast in my shower? Because I have all like the thoughts going through my head at that time. I'm like that is an audio, that is an equipment. Hell, trying to get all your equipment waterproofed. I was like, no.
I mean, GoPro did it.
It's true, but a mic.
Yes.
As far as I don't know of any like podcasting mics that are waterproof, or good mics, I should say.
I mean, yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, so maybe not. Yeah. But that's not. I didn't see.
That's why the water's not running right now.
I didn't realize. I didn't know that was your intro. I didn't read it beforehand. But David, before we get started, what you drinking today?
I'm drinking an Arnold Palmer, so half and half, iced tea and lemonade.
I've told you my Arnold Palmer
Brand
story,
recognition.
right?
I don't know.
Okay. I just when I worked in the restaurant, this one
He's
lady,
lying. He never worked in a restaurant.
I did for a whole 3 months before I quit. And this one lady asked for Arnold Palmer, and I couldn't say it. And she was yelling like every time I passed, she go Arnold Palmer, and she like make fun of me that I was like walking past. It was really weird. And then one guy who doesn't look anything like me, but he was like fairly dark, and he walked past, and she yelled it out to him, and he went back and like, dude, the weirdest thing just happened. This lady just yelled out Arnold Palmer to me. So that's my Arnold.
So was that your shortest job?
Yeah, 3 months. No. Well, I mean, technically, I was a contractor for a month, but I was an employee. Like I was supposed to be an employee after the contract was up. So
I mean, if you're like a subcontractor though, that's like freelancing. That's like
I was technically
right?
I was hired. I was hired by a company. But we were doing a 3-month probation before I was made a full-time employee. So
you made it in a month.
Yeah, I made it a month.
Okay.
That's the terrible. Remember the Russian story?
Yeah.
That was awful. But no, 1 month, 3 months, and then the next one I think was like 6 months, and then 2 years, and those have been all of my jobs.
I still got you beat.
Yeah.
Shortest job was 2 weeks.
Really? Where?
Yep. I had a car dealership.
I thought you lasted way longer than that. Is that a different car dealership?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I did tent shows until they lost their contract with their car provider. Then I moved to a dealership, and after 2 weeks, I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why when you told me the other day, you were all like, maybe you could just go back to one of those sales jobs. I was like, the only one I would go back to is gone.
Yeah.
And I would not go back to an actual brick and mortar dealership.
No. I think it'd be fun for me for a day or two. And then
I've been invited for like when different dealerships do like super sales. I've been invited to just do the sale with them.
Oh yeah, I do that. That'd be.
I haven't. I turned them down.
No. Extra money. But anyway, I'm drinking a little spot of white wine. This is probably the worst wine I've ever had in my life.
I like how egotistical you are. Like no one even asked, dude.
You weren't going to ask. I was trying. I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you to yes and me, and you just didn't. So,
I mean, if you look back, I've not mentioned what I was drinking at least twice now because no one ever asked me.
But you weren't drinking anything. I knew that beforehand. You were drinking water.
Hey.
Anyway, it is the worst wine ever.
I don't drink water, so I was never drinking water on this show.
You don't drink water?
No.
Dude, you need to get that checked out. But anyway, it has notes of pure acid Like that's the note. Maybe a little honey, a little apple in there, like very acidic apple. Oh, it's not good. But moving on.
Welcome to Overthinking, where we torture ourselves by drinking gross wines.
That would be an interesting show. Why don't we do that, Devin? That would have been fun.
Every single
Instead,
episode
we have to research
have a new
philosophy
episode.
every week.
Well, I mean, we can do whatever we want with this,
That's
Luke.
true.
It's our show.
It is true. We can overthink what wines are. You know?
Yeah.
Overthinking
Yeah.
applies to everything. Okay, so now
I
you're
mean,
listening to the
if
wine.
we ever get listener comments that say, I want to hear a show about this, we'll do it.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
we can overthink pretty much anything, and we can relate anything to the bigger things in life. Try me. Send in your comments to overthinkingpodcastshow@gmail.com. Stump me. Come on, try it. I can relate anything to something bigger in life. Just watch. Let's move into what the show is all about. Let's explore some things and let's warm up our brains a little bit with some secrets uncovered.
I like that you made a sound effect, but you still always do a sound effect.
I can't not. It's so much fun. So here's the thing. I came up with secrets uncovered, right? And I was like, secrets uncovered. Boom, boom. Like that's what I hear in my mind every time I see the words, I say it. I always do the bum bum. And I can't not. It's just become a thing. So deal with it. And I might just cut it out of the episode anyway. So now we're just talking about nothing.
I mean, you always say that, but you never cut anything. You're a
True.
really lazy editor.
Final scene. Let you do the editing.
I was listening to episode 3 today, and I'll just tell you that you said you were going to cut some of the stuff I said out, but it's on episode 3.
Stuff that I was jokingly saying I was going to cut out.
Yeah, but you were mad about it.
Well, it's out in the ether now. What are we gonna do about it?
Yo.
Devin,
Yo,
let's rescue this sinking ship. Do you have a secret uncovered today?
I mean, kinda. This last week, I finished up one of my jobs. I gave them a 2-week notice 2 weeks ago. So,
Congratulations!
yesterday was my last day with them. Thank you.
Tiny clap.
Because I got a different, better job. So there.
You need better jobs.
Yeah. But I was talking with a student, SAT prep.
Okay.
And a big part of the SAT, like a third of the SAT, is like statistics now.
Mm-hmm.
And most students never take statistics. So I'm literally just going through this textbook with them, and I'm explaining to them, and the textbook uses the word because of its inductive nature.
Interesting.
Which is awesome.
Okay.
Because I always, when I explain like deductive versus inductive thought,
Right.
I always use statistics as my example.
Yeah.
And this textbook like defined statistics as inductive. And I was like, yay. Like
Huh.
no one's ever validated that for me. That's not my secret uncovered. It led to it.
Okay.
So I started actually talking with the student about different types of logical reasoning
Mm-hmm.
that we talked about on episode 3.
Wow.
Like inductive, deductive, abductive reasonings, right? And as I was explaining to them, I realized, just like light bulb moment, and then I went back and I'm correct, that when we had Dean on, and I said that I would argue that like science can never arrive at truth, I think is the way I said it.
You said that? Well, he said that.
No, I said that.
Oh, you said that. Okay.
Yeah. And you asked me why.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave a bunch of examples of things that science can never confirm.
Yeah.
And just in our back and forth, I totally missed, like just forgot and didn't say it, like my actual, like why science is incapable of arriving at truth.
Okay.
And it's because the scientific method by nature is abductive. And only deductive reasoning can arrive at truths.
Oh, I see okay, that clarifies a lot of what you meant then.
Yes.
Okay. That's actually a really good thing to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So great.
So, and by the way, the episode I'm referring to at time of this recording
5.
hasn't aired, so I'm not doing any like damage control here. Like nobody knows about this except Luke and I at this
And
point.
Dean.
Like, yeah, Dean.
But yeah, it hasn't aired yet. But yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I forget like what you said that episode, went by so fast, and my mind is so small. Like it just everything about that episode is mostly blank. But except for like the thrill I got from it. I don't know why. I just like it was thrilling.
You're like, I don't know what just happened, but that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. What people don't remember what you say; they remember how you made them feel. Boom. Yeah, that's a great sequence covered. That's nice. That's a really good one. Mine pales in comparison.
As usual.
But it came from a talk I had with a mutual friend of ours.
Of ours?
Of ours, you know.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And we were talking about doing things, right? We're talking about productivity and whatnot, and
You mean productivity?
he said, see, we were talking about this, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are we talking about all the things we can do? I'm like, who cares about all the things we can do? The only thing that matters is the most important thing. After that, everything else is secondary, right? And so in thinking about the day, so we were talking about like how to structure the day. We're like, wait a minute. Like, let's change the conversation, the mentality, and let's just change this to the most important thing possible. So now when I look at my day, instead of thinking about all the things I can do, I'm like, oh, this is the most important thing. Cool, I'm going to do this. And everything else, I'm like, this will happen later. And part of that is the ability I have because I am semi self-employed-ish. Is that I can choose what I do first on a given day. But I found that to be a lot helpful with stress, which like thinking about just being overwhelmed with things I could do for my own good and the good of my business and my success. And so that's the way I've kind of been framing my mindset right now as the most important thing.
That's kind of like similar to the like highest leverage moves philosophy.
Yeah, I knew there's names for this, and I've heard names for this. I couldn't remember. I was just like the most important action. That's MIA. I was like, that's not a good acronym.
That's awesome. No, so the ones that I've always heard from mainly the same people, like two different, very very similar philosophies, but they're like in the entrepreneur startup space that like they're mentioned all the time, and one is highest leverage moves.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like fastest path to the cash.
Yeah, fastest path to cash. Yeah. So we've talked about a lot, not on the podcast.
Yeah, and like those two philosophies are very closely interwoven. But like startup, it doesn't matter that it's not scalable. It doesn't matter that you're not going to be doing it forever. It doesn't matter that it's not even actually your business.
Right.
It matters that it's making you money right now.
Exactly.
Right. And then in the business and later stages and always forever, highest leverage moves.
Yeah.
What we should do first should be what makes the biggest impact. And when we get better, we're getting to the lesser things anyway because we've already optimized everything else.
Exactly.
It's kind of like on a landing page. You should never start with the color of the button.
Yeah.
But if you've literally optimized everything else, now you do the color of the button.
Exactly.
Like,
and there was a did we listen to that same podcast then? I think we listened to the same because I think we discussed this years ago, like around when our relationship was beginning. I remember talking about this, and So anyway, so that's my thought for this week is, if you're trying to get things done, then just focus on the best thing and then ignore everything else for right now, and then only think about that after you're done with doing the best thing.
Yeah,
the highest leverage moves. HLM. That's an acronym we can get behind.
I like that.
HLM. Dude, what's your HLM for
could write a post on that.
Right? I might.
Yeah.
Well, I'll steal that first.
Maybe we could just co-write a post and then we don't have to be competitive.
I like being competitive, though.
Then I'll write a better post than you and you'll feel bad. Like, what do you want to do here?
Yeah, right. I'll write a better post than you any day. I say, knowing you're probably way better of a writer than me. I don't know.
I don't like writing. I'll make a video.
Well, see, I speak better too. But anyway, yeah. So that's our warm up for today. Getting into things. Devin, we didn't discuss who's going first today. So
you're going first.
I was gonna do a whole thing around flipping a coin.
Flip a coin. I mean, that's your phone, not a coin. But if you want to throw it in the air, do it.
Call.
Heads.
Basic.
There's two options, Luke. They're both basic.
Flip a coin. Let's see what happens.
It's not gonna work.
It's heads.
Woohoo!
I wanted the thing. The volume was all the way down because we're recording. But it's heads. It said heads.
Yay!
That means I go first, I guess.
Yes. You go
Okay.
first.
So this topic continues to befundle me.
Befundle. That's a good
Befundle.
word.
It is.
Is it a real word?
I think it's befuddle. Befuddle's a real one. I just like befundle. It sounds better. It sounds like trundle. Which is also a great word. So this idea was I came across this just accidentally on YouTube one day. And the title was The Hill with Two Kings. Or something like that, right? Or The Hills with Two Kings,
Okay.
right? And it started off this video with saying this is something that's commonly used in IT and tech and like in everything that has to do with information technology, right? I was like, what? A thought experiment has something to do with modern technology? I was like, that must be interesting, right? And so the thought experiment goes like this. You have a castle in the middle of these two hills, right? And there's these two armies, which they know that these two kings, right? The hills of two kings. There's these two kings on each of the surrounding hills, across from each other, and they know that they both can take the castle if they run together, but they won't be able to defeat the castle and invade if they go separately. So they have to come to agreement on when to invade. The problem is, so one sends a messenger. The first one sends a messenger to the second one saying, we're going to invade at 6 a.m., right? Or sunrise, let's say. The first king doesn't know that the second king knows when they're invading. So he's like, we can't invade because we don't know if he knows. Then, so the only way to know, right, is if the second king sends a messenger back and says, okay, I got it, we're invading at sunrise. The problem is, the second king doesn't know that the first king knows that he knows. And so this extends indefinitely because you can never know that the other person has the information. Yeah, because then the third king has to the first king has to send back the messenger saying, oh, we understand, we heard you. But then the first one has to send another one to say that, oh no, we understood, we heard your message. So the principle in this, I think it was Postmates as an example of how this fails and how this plays in. They had a malfunction, or as Grubhub or one of those meal delivery apps, where there was a mass breakdown where there's a ton of orders, but they never actually got logged. They took the money, they processed the order, but it never went through to the actual restaurant to get the food delivered. And that was a breakdown in that kind of communication because it wasn't sent back and forth. And am I explaining? Is this making sense? Tell me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting no facial cues from you.
You never will.
So that was a real world example of how that such a weird thing you never thought of caused a mass breakdown in a popular app.
Yeah, I mean, the thought is very similar to like you see it on like sitcoms all the time of they don't know we know they know we know.
Right, exactly. And so honestly, and so I think about this constantly. When I message you, let's say, we're good. I'm just like, how do I know he got that? I don't know. Does he know? And then you said it to me. You don't know that I have it. Like I run this in my mind all the time, and it's not healthy.
So I have a solution for the kings, and I have a solution for you.
Okay.
For the kings, they should just go talk to each other, instead of sending messengers.
Right.
For you,
Two generals. Sorry.
talk to me over.
That's what it's
Fine.
called. Yeah.
Then the generals should go. Talk
No.
to
I'm
each
sorry.
other.
I'm saying the actual. I misread is the real generals or the two armies. Yeah.
So for you, Facebook Messenger me because then it tells you red.
Right. Yeah. But Wait, where was I going with this? Darn it! My mind is not. I was working great all day, and then as soon as we start recording, I can't speak words.
Words are hard. That's why I took math.
So that's one of my least favorite phrases in the entire world. Not the
It's
not the
mine.
math part. Not the math part. People say words are hard. That's why I very rarely will I say anything about my words. I think I do all the time on this podcast. What am I talking about?
I don't feel like I've ever heard anybody say that.
Words are hard.
Yeah, this is a very me.
No,
statement
everyone
in my
says
life.
words are hard. And that's a very I hear that all the time from everyone, and I hear that the problem is why I hate it is people say that when they like miss a word, or like when they say like something like small accidentally. They're like, oh, words are hard. I'm like, no, you just like said a little thing mistake. Like you're moving on. Everyone has moved on, and now you're bringing us back to a tiny little mistake you made because you're too insecure to handle you making a mistake. That's why that bugs me, and that's why when I catch myself saying it, I get upset. I'm like, no, except that my mind is actually slow. Okay, tangents in my mind, but yeah. So it's a really interesting problem, and now that I say it, do you think you'll think about this when you're texting or no? Is it just me? Is this a me thing?
I mean, actually, your topic is annoyingly similar to mine anyway.
Darn it!
But like annoyingly similar to mine.
Because because that's right. I didn't even think about because you told me what your generalized what your topic is going to be, and I
Yeah,
didn't even think about that.
and mine's actually because of something that I said on a past episode of ours of this show. I've written blog posts about this.
Oh, you
So-
have.
I don't think it is something I'll think about. And my overarching narrative of my topic today is probably my answer as to why not.
Well, do you want to just blend our topics together then?
Sure.
Do a podcast first.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, is it though? Because we
Go
seem like
along
we
with it.
switch up our
Yes
format
and me.
every single.
Devin, come on, you gotta yes and me once.
I don't though. Like, I understand
I know you
that would be
don't.
improv. I understand that would be proper improv, but this
It
isn't
would be
improv.
proper improv.
This is me just smacking you down and then you like laughing. Like that's the purpose of the show. No, purpose of the show is to figure everything out. My bad.
I love that you know exactly what you should be doing to make to make a proper podcast, and you just don't. You just don't. You're like, no, I'm sorry. I respect that. I can respect that. Because that's what I do all the time. It's like, oh, that's
I mean,
the
you
right
say
way to do
proper podcast, you really just mean like
an entertaining one.
yeah, but like not though, because like the issue in improv where the yes and comes from is if you don't do that, then you can stump your friend, and then
Exactly.
they don't know what, and that's not necessarily not entertaining. It's not conducive to the sketch.
It's not yeah, okay, fine. I guess I've seen many situations where it's yes, it's no and or just a plain no, and it is funny. The problem is that you do that too much and it's just like, come on.
I mean, just start saying
you know.
things that are right, and I won't do it.
Okay, I see
Okay.
where this is going. I see
Yeah.
where this is going. We're gonna take a break. No, I'm
This is the last episode now.
Episode 7. We made it this far. It's 7
Yeah,
weeks. Hey,
this is episode 8, bro.
this is episode 8. Oh yeah.
See, there I did it again. Like
Okay.
smacking down, then false statements.
Fine. That was demonstrate. There's a difference between something that's demonstrably false, and there's something that's just, you know. Because I can accept. I'm like, okay, I'm wrong about a number. A number is right. A number is real, quote unquote.
Yeah, let's merge our topics. Podcast first.
Okay, Devin. Why don't you take what I've said and yes and me with your topic?
Oh, all right. So I've written on like years ago on the communication arc, which is just an outline of how we talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
But like fundamentally what's happening. It also scales to any platform, any form of interaction between two intelligent beings.
Yeah.
So it holds when like TV, radio, texting, face-to-face, video calls, like training an animal, it always holds.
Mm-hmm.
And the communication arc, it fundamentally is comprised of 6 components. I have a thought.
Okay.
That's the first one. And I want to relay this thought to somebody else. Okay.
Yep.
So my thought is step one,
Mhm.
first component. In order for me to deliver that thought to you, I have to encode it into something meaningful, which we would call language.
Right.
And then I have to transmit it to you
Mhm.
through some medium, such as speech.
Right.
You have to receive that by hearing it,
Mhm.
then decode it into what you would think that it means so that you can contemplate it and interpret it.
Yep.
Your contemplation of the thought would be the sixth step.
Yep.
Once you have decoded that, there is absolutely no way for you and me to know if you're contemplating the same thought that I delivered.
Right.
The steps of encoding, transmitting, receiving, and decoding will affect the thought.
Mhm.
They will change it. The ideal is that it changes it minimally,
Right.
and you still are thinking, but there's no way around the reality that it will change.
Mhm.
That's actually what I just outlined is the reason behind like the distinction between intent and impact.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
If I could transmit my intent, then the impact would equal it every
Yeah.
time. But we can't do that. And then
yeah.
the issue with language, the way that we choose to encode any thought, is it's a series of agreed upon sounds with agreed upon meanings.
Right.
Kind of.
Kind of. Yeah.
Right? We don't think of words the same way.
Mhm.
The example that I used in my post that I wrote up that I just read this morning to remind myself
Mhm.
was I don't use the word beauty this way that most people use the word beauty. In context, like if I see somebody who most people would say is beautiful, I
Yeah.
won't.
Really? Wait. What do you?
I could, so I would like concur that like that person is pretty, but to me, beautiful as a term is stronger than
It's
physical
internal.
attractiveness. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say someone is beautiful without knowing their heart.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I agree.
So that's just like a way that I use a word in that's differently than how most people might use the word,
Mhm.
which means when I use the word, you're not probably gonna get the same meaning that I had.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just outlining like the issues with communication. And the big point that I had in the post that I bring up whenever I bring up the communication arc is the thought that I had is internal. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
The contemplation that you have at the end of the arc is internal and yours.
Yes.
Everything else, the encoding, transmitting, receiving, and decoding,
Mm-hmm.
is external. It's not in either of our controls. And it's also the part
Interesting. Okay.
where things get misunderstood.
Right.
So miscommunication happens from things that are not in either party's control.
Yeah, kind of. Because
So-
okay. So here's the thing. I think part of the decoding though has to do with experiences. So in a sense, you could say that it's out of our control in that we can't take back experiences or just change our experiences with words or with the meanings of words. But it's in our control, I could say, in the fact that we can make new experiences that change the words in the future.
Okay, so how does that help us in this conversation?
I don't know.
Okay.
Wait.
Like,
yeah.
it-
Wait. You're saying sorry. I was being facetious. Which is one of my favorite words ever because it describes me. But I would say it affects the conversation in that defining it as something external out of our control, I wouldn't say is necessarily true.
No, I mean, your example doesn't affect a real-time conversation.
Oh right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. That's what. Yeah. Okay. I thought you meant.
So-
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so in a real-time conversation, your decoding of my information,
True.
actually not even my information anymore,
Yeah.
is something that isn't going to be affected in this,
True. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So effectively outside of our control.
Yeah. For this yeah. Yeah.
Right. So where miscommunication happens isn't in my intent and it isn't in its impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's in external factors of the way that information is relayed. Which means if there is a misunderstanding, inherently it's neither party's fault. So nobody can take blame for a misunderstanding.
I guess
If
yeah,
Hmm?
I guess so. I think again, right? Well, we're talking about the word fault. We're having a real time conversation. What does that mean? Um, to me, fault means that you're responsible.
Mhm.
Whereas with many words, it's it's understood. Like a person should understand that they could be interpreted in many ways. For example, like a comedian is telling a joke. There's nothing wrong. I wouldn't say there's no at fault with many comedians who make darker jokes or quote unquote offensive jokes. Um, but there are certain ways you can limit the impact, and you can make sure that certain words that are taken in many ways. I think it's part of your responsibility. Well, it depends if you're it's part of your responsibility to recognize there are words that are commonly taken the wrong way, and to either use different words or use the word in a better sense. Right?
So you would argue that something that you already admitted is outside of my control is my fault if I sent the message.
No, what I'm saying is that the part that is out of, let's say, out of the control is not that's I would say that can be mitigated. The part that I wouldn't say it's fully out of our control, because that encoding and decoding can be mitigated and helped along by the information you provide. So
So
if I say, let's say I say, oh wow, you're dumb, Devin, and right, that's the message, right? Of course, I could mitigate that, right? That because I recognize, oh, that's a word that's going to be taken in a hurtful way, right? So I could mitigate that with, like, if I'm texting, I'm like lol, or I can laugh, or I don't know, something like that, to where I can add new information that you then can be decoded and encoded, or encoded and decoded to
okay, so
help with the
again,
perception.
you're extracting your thoughts outside of the idea of a single conversation. Because you're talking about learning to encode things differently based on reactions.
Sure, I guess, because that's the world we live in, is that we always have information to use for a
So
conversation.
so relaying back to the idea of a single conversation where a misunderstanding has happened.
Okay. Sure, outside in a theoretical world, outside of past experiences.
No, I mean, take all the past experiences you already have. They led to this conversation, and in this conversation there was a misunderstanding.
Okay. Okay.
You're not going to learn from that misunderstanding and fix it for next time until next time.
Right. Okay,
We're in the
I
misunderstanding
understand where you're
now.
coming from a little bit. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay.
Right. So I encoded it, sent it to you.
Right.
You decoded it, got a different impact than my intent.
Right. Oh,
The issue is in translation. Literally,
Right.
it's like that's where the idea of lost in translation comes from.
right.
And that's outside of either party's
I
control.
agree. Yeah.
Therefore, neither party is at fault.
Yes. Okay, in that case, yeah, I
Okay.
agree. Yes.
So I go on to express in the article, and actually after reading it today, I fully agree with every thought I had years ago, which is so rare when I read
Yeah,
my
I
old
know,
stuff.
right?
Um,
So much
but,
stuff from years ago that I'm just cringe at. I'm like, I
yeah,
said that.
and I'm actually proud of this one, so that's rare. I go on to point out that if a misunderstanding is recognized, then it is both parties' responsibility to resolve it.
Yes.
Right. So, and I have to word it that way because misunderstandings can occur with neither party recognizing it.
Yes. Yeah.
I can say something and you think you know what I meant, and I think you knew what I meant.
Yeah. And then you go your separate
Right.
ways, and
Exactly. But when they are recognized, then to do nothing about them would be negligence.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, and then I think part of the doing something about it is what you were talking about with like making sure that in the future I encode this thought differently.
Exactly.
Right. And then that's like minimizing misunderstandings in the future.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just outlined it, and like I have and I'll send you the graphic that I made years
cool.
ago because
I can
it's good
put it
enough.
up.
Yeah, but it's like this wasn't my idea initially. A version of it was shared with me when I was in college. that I could not find anywhere after the fact, after the conversation ended. Like I can't find it anywhere. And so that's what prompted me in writing the post in the first place, was that the information wasn't out there.
Okay.
I think the information is out there in a very different format in computer sciences, which I learned later in my college career.
Which is what I was talking about.
Exactly. Because the same ideas that I'm talking about, like even the word choice that I use is the word choice, take away intent and impact,
Right.
but encoding, transmitting, receiving, and decoding.
Yeah. That's literally computers.
That's how machines interact.
Yeah. That's literally how every single piece of machinery interacts. Is through that
It's how
process.
communication is transmitted.
Yeah.
Or it's how information is transmitted. My bad.
What did you say?
I said communication the first time.
I heard information. So you could have just continued on. I would never have noticed.
Everyone on the show would be confused. All 2 listeners.
I'll too. Well, we had.
Why are you guys still here?
I know, right? Go away. We don't want you.
No, I'm just saying. Like this episode has like, I don't know why you're still listening to this one.
Go listen to the other ones. They're better.
Yeah, for sure. Listen to episode 9. It's way better.
Yeah, of course. Well, hey, that's if we use the thought of we usually get better with practice, then we can.
Then we still can't explain why this one, like episode 7, was better too. Yeah. Episode 1 was great. Go back, listen to episode 1.
Episode 1 was fun. It was fun. Episode 2, the trolley. Oh, so much fun.
Luke's favorite experiment.
We're now gonna turn into a reminiscence podcast about our past episodes. But yeah, so
do that every episode from now on. Remember the time we were thinking about how episode 2 went? That was so
reacting
great.
to our reactions to our reactions.
Yes.
YouTube content right there.
Gold, not clickbait.
But yeah, it's such an interesting and that's why it kind of blows my mind, especially with computer science. Well, in communication, I mean, because it's two sides. It's the same process, but how we approach it, I feel, is very different. When it comes to computers, and I mean, I took 1 semester of coding of C, and
It's gross.
It was so gross.
Yeah, I had to take a term of, I think I took Intro to Java.
Oh, I've heard Java's better than C. That's what people told me to take. All my computer science friends were like, you should have done Java. Why did you do C first? I'm like, I don't know anything about this. See, I do HTML, which is fake coding.
All my computer science friends that I went to school with told me that I should learn C++.
Ew. Yuck. No, thank you. Why? If you're not gonna work in the industry, it's useless.
That's why they would be telling me that. That's what they were going to school
yeah,
for.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like, that's useless information to me, which I can't use. Like, there's no. I guess there's small functions I could use that in just like productivity stuff, and be like, oh, I'm gonna type this in, and boom, there it goes. But who cares? But see, when communication, so I'm thinking along this, and I wonder if they brought. I wish I knew the history of this, of how they solved this problem, because let's see what Google has to say. I should, wait a minute, wait, in molecular compounds, Google's. This is really interesting, huh? Oh, okay, got it. So I wonder if they brought communication experts in to kind of fix this.
Who's they?
I don't know. People that solved that created different forms of communication between machines. Because, and I wonder, and the problem though, the reason why I think, in my limited knowledge, it's a little bit simpler in computer science, especially this. I mean, not necessarily the problem of the 2 generals is not an easy thing to solve, because you're talking about.
I solved it.
What do you mean?
I already solved it. I told you the 2 generals just need to talk to each other. Stop sending scouts.
Well, it's too dangerous. They can't do it.
The scouts are doing it.
Scouts are expendable. They have a bunch of them in the back. There's only 2 generals. That's what the problem says. I wonder, because when it comes to coding and information like that, if it either I'm trying to process. I think the thing with communication is that it's subjective. When it comes to coding and stuff, it's all objective. Is this thing does this, or it's this code? It doesn't like if you try to let's say like what I know from C is like calling a function. Either calls the function or doesn't, or it calls a different function that because you mistyped it, right? If you change the typing, then it changes it, right? and it's done, right? It's fixed. But in communication, one word, every single word is associated with so many emotions, and so many experiences that it's almost impossible to properly. It is impossible to properly communicate what you mean, and that's why, like, as a public speaker, I've had to learn so much of, especially when I was doing a workshop last month, and I had to do critiques, and apparently, my brother was watching. He's like, "Wow, when you started critiquing," I was like, he said, I took that. He's like, I thought you were being way too mean with them. And I was like, really? And I was finding all this afterwards, right? So he's like, yeah, in the beginning. And then that girl who he said I was being really mean with, like in front of the class after we were done, thanked me for giving her that critique. And she said it was like really helpful. And he's like, wow. He's like, when I saw that, I was like, wow, I guess I was putting myself in her shoes. and so that was a really interesting thing for me when it comes to communication. It matters who you're talking to. This is why when it comes to politics, why people hate another person. It's like they're not talking to you. If they're a good speaker, then they're talking to their audience. They don't care about you because they know you're not going to vote for them. You're not a swing. Like the person that I'm talking to, they know you're not going to swing to the other side, and so they ignore you. And they're like, that's why you don't understand what they're saying. That's why what they're saying seems wrong and offensive and terrible, because they're using words that mean completely different things to you. And that's why it's so important to choose your audience well and to talk directly to your audience. And blockchain, that's interesting too. I'm just doing some little things on the side. Also, I actually just learned, okay, so I just saw, I remembered, I knew I remembered something from that video and I couldn't remember, so I had to find it. The way they solve this in computer science when it comes to sending information back and forth through the internet, is by sending what's called a nonce. And it's an arbitrary number that it's used to decode the information. So if you send the message and the nonce, and then that way it's verified on the other side. That's the way they get around it. That's what this says. I remember them saying that. I still don't completely understand it, and I didn't understand it when I actually had an in-depth explanation on it, which means I just don't know enough about computer science. But I just wanted to not leave that open.
I took a course on like cryptography, or that's not fair. I took a course that spent a fair amount of time on cryptography. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it.
Yeah,
like
it's a very high level thing.
There was a point when, like, I don't even remember the terminology to explain the ideas that I didn't understand. But there was a point when after we were taught everything and I had basically passed everything, we were given a project that was meant to be extra credit that we had to do with partners that involved like decoding something that our professor had provided that he put a lot of work into and knew that most people wouldn't do. But like he assigned the partners and I literally talked to my partner for like 5 minutes and we both agreed that we weren't doing it because we didn't understand cryptography. We're like, this would be too hard. No. This would be such a cool thing to do, but like with everything else we have to do, I don't understand cryptography well enough to do this.
Yeah. Like that's always been an interesting subject to me because it's not something I don't feel like you can intuitively learn. Like a lot of things, like let's say marketing, right? Marketing is something you can look at and go, oh, I see that. Okay, let me replicate it. Oh, okay, got it. And you can figure it out, right? That's what I did.
I wish marketing worked like that.
What do you mean?
I see that. I wish I could do. Got it.
No, I mean, no. Okay. Obviously not that fast. But you understand what I mean? Is that it's a soft skill to where you can look at examples and you can imitate them, and then you can learn what you're doing as you go, right?
I believe that you can do that.
Yeah, right?
I can't. I believe that you can, though.
You can't.
Like you, Luke, you. No, like
What do you
marketing
what do you mean?
is a systematic, learnable process. And by that, I'm not my
What?
copywriter.
Wait a minute. How have we never talked about this? What is this, how is marketing a process? It's not. I mean, I guess
It's
in the
data
general,
analysis. It's
Yeah, I mean,
literally
that's
data
part of-
analysis.
that's part of it, though.
No, that's marketing. Copywriting is creative and something that I can't replicate, so I have a
Well,
copywriter.
copywriting is a subset of marketing.
No, they're different things.
I'm saying marketing as a whole, right?
Yeah, so there's marketing,
big
branding, copywriting. Those are all three different things.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's okay. That's not. And that. Well, hey, look, this is. I'm not gonna say it every time we use words in a different way. I'm like, look, this is an example of. I always see marketing as just the overarching way of promoting business. Like that's what I think. That's what marketing has grown to mean, in the norm.
I feel like in the last 3
You
years,
can Google a definition faster.
well, I'm not gonna be googling a definition. I feel like in the last 3 years, the space has made the distinction that I just outlined.
Yeah, I think when it comes to industry specific, yes, I think there's definitely specifications. The action or business of promoting or selling products or services, including market research and advertising. So that's the way I typically tend to define it as well. That's when I say marketing is something you could pick up and learn. It's because it really is. I at least I see it as more of a creative talent.
I mean, so like the places where I'm really good at marketing tend to be the places that are like optimization
Okay.
and like as a concept, as an idea,
Right.
Like
And that is data analysis.
right, building protocols, like media buying. The things that I'm weak at are like copywriting
Mhm.
and like content marketing.
Right.
And the reason that I am weak at those is twofold.
Mhm.
One is like it's creative and like untrackable, unprovable, and unreproducible.
Yes.
Like as far as the results, right?
Yes.
And then the other one
Slightly.
is because of those things and the fact I don't like those things, I don't do those, and I get weaker at that skill. Like,
Yeah, okay. I get it. And that's interesting though, because now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, where is my strongest suit to marketing? And I think it is content production. 'Cause that's what I'm best at. It's just
Yeah,
something I
and, like-
understand. And I maybe that is why I see it as marketing is something you could pick up and see.
yeah, but even to it, like if you get really granular, like there's businesses that have made their entire thing on like reverse engineering like things that go viral.
Right. Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to have a systematic process.
Yeah.
That's not creative.
Right. No,
That's-
that is not creative.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like everything that I see, like in my mind, creativity might be how we discover new things, but it's not how we continue doing them.
That's a really good way of defining it.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah.
like even like the really, really good copywriters that I know
Mm-hmm.
have strict processes that they follow.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of them, like a Rolodex of like, oh, this is your market, this is your industry, this is your company.
This is the way you do it.
This is how I'm gonna write it.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
and I don't understand how they get to that level with words, but I can do that with numbers. Because
Yeah.
words are hard, Luke.
Oh, you're just trying to trigger me. Was that on podcast that I said that, or was that off podcast?
I thought I was on podcast.
I'm pretty sure I said that off podcast, but anyway, no, maybe I don't know. No. I said
Regardless.
it on podcast. No, I forgot. I was going back to where I said that, but cryptography. That's what we were talking. That's what got us into this in the first place. So that's why I said like. That's why I personally I wasn't even making like an interesting point. I was just saying things. I was saying something off the cuff about cryptography being very specific and only learnable. Like I think there's certain skills where if you're not taught that you can't it's really hard to learn it.
Yeah. And that was like so
Same thing with like
some
calculus.
of the words that I was forgetting are like open source keys for cryptography have become really important. And I know that term.
Okay.
And in a very vague kind of a sense, I understand what it is, but not in one where I could describe it in a way that's intelligible. Because like I learned it at some point and like had to deal with it and like dealt with it, and basically I came away from it with only an understanding that like when I enter my credit card information on a website, it's actually pretty protected.
Yeah.
Like,
usually.
if it's actually
if it's a real website and they use 20.
Yeah, Amazon actually protects my
yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah, because if they didn't, then we could make a lot of money from suing them. Maybe we.
Oh, that's another one I figured out too. Like when we use like 56-bit encryption.
Yeah.
Or
256.
That's not even right.
It's 256.
Yeah.
56 bit.
And I knew that because it's a power of 2. But because
binary
are always power of 2. Yeah.
Right?
But
did I make mistake?
Like that's not actually something that we as mathematicians know is hard to crack. We think it's hard. But we can't prove that it's a hard system to crack
without cracking it.
So like literally
tomorrow
somebody could figure out a system for cracking it, and every form of cryptography that we use could be useless.
Yeah.
Like in a day.
Right.
And then all of a sudden your information wouldn't be safe.
Yeah. I'm sure they have backups for that kind of like that would be smart to have
There is a type of cryptography that is proven uncrackable.
Really?
And it is so inefficient that it's not worth using on a large scale.
Oh.
Yeah. I learned about that too. I don't know what it is.
You don't know
Not my specialty. Not my specialty. I just learned about it. I remember being told about
it. I just love it. Like, yeah, there's this thing that's uncrackable words, and they just I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Encryption.
So I can't carry the burden of proof for the claim I just made, but I'm making the claim anyway.
I can. Is it a one-time pad? Yeah, one-time pad. Here it is. I found it. I know what it's called now. Maybe. Huh. Anyway. It is. It is. That's interesting. Yeah, cryptography has always been something interesting to me because it's something we all kind of trust. But we have no reason to other than people tell us to trust it.
Right. I mean, it's like everything else though. Like, I don't know how my smartphone works.
Right.
But it works. And like everything tech-wise, that's how most people look at it. I don't know how it works, but it works. And I don't think about it, so I'm not concerned. Like...
Yeah, and but I mean, I think it's a little bit higher stakes because beyond just trust, like, I guess you could say we trust our devices because we trust them to work regularly. But that's something like we put everything, like our entire means of life, into. And we're just like, yeah, I guess so. Because it says 256, it must be safe. It's just an interesting thing, like how fragile everything actually is. I mean, even just like seeing, I mean, we're filming this so far. Who knows if the virus is going to be anything by the time we're done?
I mean,
hopefully
my life got shut down.
Yeah, exactly. And have you seen like stores are empty?
Yep.
Like things we just take for granted, normal day-to-day activities are all gone.
Yep.
And for me, I like this. I feel like I thrive in it because I feel vindicated in my thought processes of like not trusting anything. And I'm like, yeah, this could all go away tomorrow. Yeah, okay. And let's move on.
That's funny. I've actually had the thought recently because schools are shut down.
Yeah.
90% of my day just opened up, right?
Yeah.
I told you last week of like how I have so much going on. It's forcing me to be better.
Yeah.
Now I have time to see if I'm actually better.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so, huh? I mean, if it's been enough time, if it's how long have you had of like forcing yourself to be better? You think?
I started student teaching January 6th.
Oh yeah, that's a good 2 months.
Yeah, I think it got really hard about a month ago.
Okay.
So
okay, we'll see. We'll see if a month's enough. Usually they say 7 weeks, but
I mean, for what?
For habit building.
No.
Yeah.
I learned that in school.
What do you
21
mean?
days to build a habit.
What?
Yeah, I learned that in psychology.
I think I've heard. Wait, okay. How long?
There I do again. I'm not yes-anding you.
It takes 2 months, 66 days to be exact.
Huh. Who says that?
Is it true it takes 21 days to form a habit? Here we go.
No. Who says the 66 days?
It looks like a psychologist. Who is this guy? James Clear. He's a New York Times best-selling seller of Atomic Habits. He writes Atomic Habits, which is the book that we talked about at our mastermind.
Got it. This is funny. Dr. Maxwell Maltz is the one who said 21 days. And that's actually old, so
Yeah.
I could fully believe some new information disproving what he said.
There's articles from 11 years ago. It feels weird to see something 11 years old on the internet. You're like, it didn't exist back then. It's too old.
So this is like literally in textbooks in college. I learned about habit
I
forming.
mean, do you trust? That's why I don't trust textbooks.
So just let me finish. And now I'm googling it and I'm finding out that the guy who developed that published in 1960.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
So this is like something that I've just held and trusted because
Yeah.
I was taught it in school.
well, that's why you have a bunch of people in this world who believe things because they learned about it in school 50 years ago. And they're like, yeah, that's just what we heard. And they never change their opinions. But it's now outdated because we learn and we grow, which is wonderful.
Professor Jane Wardle, University College London, said 66 days.
Yeah. Is that how long is 7 weeks? That's 49 days.
I mean, you were way closer than what I was taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, actually, like in that sense, I don't believe I have any habits formed just from my own experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that wouldn't be the measurement of like if I'm actually better. It's more like mindset, drive.
Well,
now that I have
those are habits, though. So okay.
How do you define habits?
All right. So here's the thing. I'm drawing this from a book called it's just called Habits. I forget what it's called. But it's about habits. By this Dr. someone. I forget their name. I'm not good at quoting books. But he goes really far in defining what a habit is, and I'm more conservative than him. He defines everything as a habit because everything is a pattern, of like a learned pattern. I'm like, I guess that's true because your brain does things efficiently. So if you define a habit as something your brain does automatically to be efficient,
But I mean, you can't define everything as a habit. If I've never done it before, it's not a habit, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah. So that's why he was very liberal with his definition of a habit. But most things, I mean, because most processes and what we do, like when you sit down, okay, so when you talking about motivation and drive and like focus and all that stuff. Well, where are you trying to focus? When you sit down on your computer and try to write, well, what's the habit that you have when you sit down on your computer and you try to write, right? That impacts whether you're going to be focused and motivated or not, because you have to unlearn what you do every single time that you sit down on that computer and try to write.
So I can agree that like what I'm doing when I sit down to stay focused is a habit.
Yeah.
I can't concede that the way I think is a habit.
Why not? That's just processes in our brain. It's
Because
neurons fire. It's following pathways.
In my mind, a habit is something that's in your control. It's something that you either choose to or not to do on some level.
You can affect your way of thinking. Like if you have a negative thought, I mean, that's what therapy is.
I mean, sure, but that's missing the point. That so even the way that you define a neural pathway is not something that's fundamentally. I can't say, okay, I'm going to develop this neural pathway and I'm going to use this pathway.
Of course.
Like,
yeah,
the parts of my thoughts that build how I work they seem fundamental, and I can't call something that's fundamental a habit.
What do you mean fundamental?
I can call the things that it builds a habit.
What do you mean fundamental though? Fundamental to what?
They seem like fundamental to consciousness. That'd be a good, like,
Okay,
I
like
can't.
what? Like,
I can
I'm very
change-
curious about this. by
I
the
can
way.
change certain thought processes, sure. I can recognize that things aren't sufficient to me. The part of my brain, the mechanism that's doing that recognition,
Yeah.
I don't believe I can change. So, kind of like we talked about before, like the third party in your subconscious that's sitting back and observing what you're doing,
Yeah.
the thing that you're talking to,
Yeah.
the thing that looks like the super ego,
Yeah.
if we were Freudian,
Yeah.
like the thing that looks at things and says that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that thing. I think that thing is fundamental. I think that part of my subconscious is fundamental, and that's the thing that dictates what I do and don't do as far as habit building.
This is really interesting. Huh? I didn't thought about it like that, because to me, like, everything I think is a result of a preconceived. I guess a habit is the right word to use it. That's the way I view it. Is if I think something. So if you say something to me and I have a thought because of that, it's because my brain has been trained to think that, and I can train my brain to think differently. Right? That's why I'm a little. I guess the fun. I can't. I guess that's a perspective I think I'd have to learn over time, right, and change the ways I think, because I don't really see it's hard for me to think of any of thought processes as fundamental, other than like instinct, which is something like in your the lizard brain, right? Something like that. That's I don't, as far as I know, either you can't really affect or it's very hard to affect.
Huh. See, in my mind, and I could be wrong on this, and I've been studying how we
probably
think for a
both
while,
are.
but in my mind, well, we're talking about human nature.
Yeah,
We are
We
wrong.
are wrong.
But in my mind, like your instincts almost seem easier to adjust than that third party mechanism that's observing you.
Whoa, that's a bold
Yeah.
claim.
I mean, and like I said, I could be wrong, but that's my view on it.
Huh. I think the reason why. Oh boy. The reason why I'm kind of skeptical about that is because if you look at the way our brain is formed, there's like the part of our brain that's like it's survival, right? The little like this the super what they call the lizard brain, right? The lizard part of our brain. I tried to memorize all the parts of our brain when I was doing psychology, and I gave up. I was like, no, I won't. I can't remember people's faces and names. I'm not gonna remember medical terms from. So I mean, if I tried, I could eventually, but I don't care enough. The reason why is because that part it's so old. Like if you think about the way our brains developed, is that I think is more fundamental. That's what I call something fundamental, because the very essence of survival, the very essence of being alive is fight, flight, freeze. Like that's pure survival. Then as we look at the more developed parts of our brain, which other animals don't have, that's when we get more and more into being human. And of course, when we look at our frontal lobe, we look at that's where thoughts, as far as like. Thought, that's not the right word. Where decision making, where I think consciousness, if we want to say, comes from. So that's why I think that's a more malleable.
So I'm gonna challenge you with two ideas,
All right.
and I think my ideas are self-contradictory. So I'm not saying that I think either of them are right necessarily. I'm just gonna challenge you with two ideas I had while you were talking.
Okay.
Or they might be They might be contradictory. They might not. Yeah. Your beginning premise, you're assuming that third party mechanism that I'm talking to isn't part of the lizard brain. But I have no reason to believe that.
True. As far as I know about brain study, because I went down a rabbit hole a long time ago. I was learning psychology and tried to learn as much as possible about this. I have a funny story actually about it, but they'll save it for later. And that's why I'm doubtful. As far as I know, it doesn't have a lot to play in it. It has more to play in the immediate kind of survival things, such as I'm hungry, I need food. Like I'm gonna bug you and bug you and bug you.
Right, but you're assuming that like this process isn't that level of fundamental, and I don't think this is something that like a neurobiologist could say.
Okay.
Because when you're dealing with consciousness, it's so fundamentally
True.
different.
Okay, true. Yeah, I'll concede to that. I'll
Right.
concede to that. That's hard. Like, it's impossible to tell.
My other pushback would just be that something that I do know that neurobiologists state is that higher brain functions can always override lower brain functions.
Yes, but it's hard.
But they can.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. I had to process that for a second to fully understand what that meant. But
So
yes.
these lower level things, even if what I'm talking to, this third party mechanism that's I would say is fundamental to how we think,
Mhm.
even if it's not part of your lizard brain,
Right.
it could still very easily have control over your lizard brain. It could still
Yeah.
change those instinctual habits. And I mean, there's examples of this. When we train ourselves not to flinch,
Yes.
we're overriding a fundamental defense mechanism.
True.
And in my opinion, foolishly. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean,
that's
what,
a bad thing to train yourself not to do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's basically what being a soldier is overriding, is fear. Like,
but it's not, because that's not. I mean,
that's what
there's
I mean.
levels of, you could argue it's pain avoidance, but flinching isn't.
Right? No, I'm not
a
saying
reaction
it's
of-
flinching. I'm just saying in general, like
Yeah,
overriding.
that's not a reaction of fear. That's a reaction.
Oh,
of,
true.
That's a reaction of like something's going to hit me and it's better if it doesn't.
Okay, I see. It's more. Yeah, I get.
Right.
Yeah. It's more an immediate, like
Right.
without thinking.
So like
you can't.
I've always argued that like martial artists should flinch hard, like all the time, because they should have trained themselves to avoid things. So martial artists should flinch. Like,
yeah.
and their flinching should look a little different maybe than most people's,
Right.
where it's not
Controlled
just them trying to move,
Right.
but like a block and a counter.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
their flinching should hurt people.
Right.
Like,
Well, I mean, that's essentially what training is. You just do it so much it becomes muscle memory.
yeah.
And I guess in a way you could argue muscle memory is almost a part of that instinctual part of you. Like
Oh,
you're
that's
like
interesting.
encoding. I actually never thought
That's
about
actually-
it either. That's
I would like to talk more, because I've had thoughts on it in the past. I'd like to think it over and talk more on what muscle memory is.
Yes. Well, as a pianist, I mean, I've thought about this a lot because when I was first learning piano, I was fascinated by the idea that I could not think. Like, I'll doze off and I'll play an entire song without even thinking.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I've always thought the same thing, because in martial arts, you hear all the time, you're not done yet, you're training for muscle memory.
Exactly. Yeah, you're training
And
so
it's
you
like,
can
if
fight
you
without
can't
thinking.
do it without thinking, then you don't know it.
Yes,
Like-
exactly. But in the moment
And-
that you try thinking about it and you start making mistakes, that's when you have muscle memory.
Yeah. Or maybe you don't make mistakes, but you slow down
Yeah,
now.
you slow down. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, because I know if I try to memorize a piece that I'm playing and I start thinking about what my fingers are doing, I'll mess up and I can't continue. And I just
That's when I don't go to the gym forever, and then I go back and I train for a day.
yeah.
Like, there's a few things that I expect, and there's a few things I'm always happy when they happen. So like, I expect that my timing is going to be off for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I expect that I gonna gas out fast. Like, I'm not gonna have
Yeah.
the cardio for it,
Right.
right? The happy things that always happen is like things that I didn't know that I remembered how to do happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think my timing should be off, well, my timing is off on some things, but on other things, no, I just armbarred you. And why? Because you gave it to me,
yeah.
and without thinking, I took it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I mean, that is actually would be an interesting thing to do more research on and talk about in the
yeah,
future.
I could see that being a fun episode.
It would be a fun episode.
Yeah,
Oh, why don't we do that then? Yeah.
yeah.
It would have been.
This episode's been weird.
It's been weird. This has been a
This
weird
has been, like,
episode. I think
The weirdest episode I think we've done.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't like structurally on paper. I don't think it's weird.
I'm thinking about writing the show notes for this one, and it's gonna be hard. Like,
Don't worry about it. You still have like 4 weeks until you need
it's
to
like,
write the show
don't worry
notes for
about
this.
it. It's Devin's job.
I was saying you need it's like a month until you need to write the show notes for this. That's time of recording.
No, but it's just gonna be weird on this one.
Right.
Like, Yeah.
It is gonna be weird. I don't know. It's okay. I think it's okay to switch things up, make things a little awkward in the pursuit of truth and knowledge and the good of well-being. We have to be uncomfortable.
What ended up being basically the same topic.
Yes,
from a different
that
angle.
was weird.
And neither of us had like a massive amount to say on it.
Exactly. Yes, I thought I did. So here's the problem. I had so much because the problem is my topic is something that's so like I can't stop thinking about ever since I learned about it. But I realized all of those thoughts are just the same thought rotating around. There's nothing new. There's nothing new in my mind. So I thought I genuinely was like, this is transformational. I'm like, oh wait, it's actually really simple, and I just like this, so I think about it a lot. Which is good. I mean, it tied in nicely. We happy mistakes. It tied in nicely. But yeah, I think
we got to just riff. It was kind of fun.
We got to riff. You know what? Riffing is fun. That's why I always wanted to play the guitar, because I want to riff.
I learned to play the guitar, but never good enough to riff.
Yeah, no, I can play 5 chords. I think I can play.
Oh, you can play like 90% of all pop songs.
Oh, yeah, I can play most pop songs. Yeah. The problem is when they usually throw in like 1 chord that I can't play, and I'm like, I can't play that. My fingers don't work right. Like I'm trying to play it.
Like I can either play the verse or the chorus.
Right, exactly.
But usually not both,
Yeah.
and never the bridge.
Yeah.
Like
any good song that I actually like usually has a chord in there that I can't play.
That's what's funny if you actually watch like the videos of like the montages of all the different pop songs that are just using the 4 chords.
Yeah.
You'll see, oh, they're playing the chorus on this one. Oh, they're playing the verse on this one. Oh, they're playing the bridge on this one. And its reality is like the songs don't only use those 4 chords.
Yeah.
That's a moment in the song that uses those.
I bet this exists. There has to be this exists where they take just like 100 songs that have the same chord progression, and they just put them like splice them all, and they make an entire song out of all of those songs in a row.
Well, I mean, that's what I was just describing as YouTubers who do that.
Oh, there are YouTube. Oh,
but they just play the guitar through all those songs.
Oh, that's what you were saying. Okay, I didn't quite grasp what you were the full extent of what you're saying. I swear.
You with me now?
I'm with you. There is I've never identified with a character in a book more. Okay, never. And it's this character random. In a book, and it's fantasy, right? But he wakes up every day with different levels of intelligence.
Okay.
So he there's he usually sticks around the middle, but he has these instances of like pure, what they call pure intelligence, where there's like literally nothing, like it's a maximum, using the maximum of the human brain possible, right? And then he has moments of like pure stupidity, right? And he has moments where he's just a little dumb or where he's just a little smart. And ever since I read that character, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a little bit of a dumb day. I'm just a little dumb today. and I can't and it becomes self-fulfilling, right? Because that's all I can think about. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be dumb today, and then I can't, and then I'm like, oh, this is what I expect. So
I'm gonna write a prescription for you, Luke. Stop reading fantasy. It's not good for you.
I can't. It's probably not good for me, just because it makes me think of the real world in the sense of a fantasy world. Like I start to see things, I'm like, oh yeah. I start to get into overlay that fantasy world on the real world. And it just
fast forward 2 years from now, you're gonna be taking a samurai sword to a bus.
Dude, it's not 2 years from now. It's like a month if we're not careful.
You're like, I did that last week. Actually, what are you saying?
This is actually just a green screen in jail. You've been fooled.
The jail's not the right word.
Prison.
Padded rooms.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Are you real?
Am I real?
Yeah.
No.
Well, how do I know that?
You don't.
I don't.
Yeah, you're a brain in a vat.
Well, it is interesting though. I go back. I think we published that episode today, right? We're publishing that episode today that they were recording.
The brain in the vat?
Yeah. Right?
No, that's not today.
Oh, it's not today? Okay.
No.
Well, that episode, I was thinking about that a little bit. You wrote the show notes about it. Yeah. Wait, was it today or it was last week?
That must be episode 2.
It must,
because it wasn't episode 3.
Or it was episode 1, maybe, I think. It was episode 1 because I just edited.
Go us. We know.
Because I just edited a video clip from it. But the brain in the vat thing, I think about that a lot because people do something or say something and I'm like, well, I have no way to prove that you're real or not, so I'm not going to let it affect me. That's usually my go-to response. I'm like, the virus is sweeping across the world. I'm just like, I don't know if any of this is real. I can't prove it. So you know what? I'm not gonna
Go
be
listen to
bothered.
episode 1. I feel like I changed your mind on that.
You
So,
did okay.
Listen.
No, okay. Wait. Well, what happened was I have the video clip is very funny. I think I either uploaded it or I'll upload it so you can watch it now.
YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube. I uploaded it to our
Okay.
drive so that way you could post
Okay.
it natively. I think I'll post it to our YouTube channel for funsies.
We have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's
Go us, we're pro.
Yeah, no, overthinking on
Right on.
YouTube.
Nice.
But yeah, so what you
Oh
did,
yeah, I subscribed to that.
yeah, we all remember? Jeez, Devin, we're both little dum dums today. What's happening?
I mean, it's been so long since they've posted anything new. I haven't seen it in my feed.
It's true. It's true because we didn't have a video for last time because I lost my drive. Yay. But now
Are
it's
you gonna
back.
put that up now though? That you have
yeah,
it?
why not? I will.
Yeah.
Spend 6 hours exporting it and uploading it because it's
Worth
2 hours
it.
long.
Worth it.
But yeah, so what was I even saying about the fantasy? I don't know, dude. I think. Do you think it's fair to say we overthought this?
I don't know what we overthought.
I don't
but
even know.
think we're done.
Exactly, we overthought everything in general.
We overthought something. Here.
Yeah, we overthought our lives, our throats. I'm so dehydrated. I've been dehydrated for like 4 days straight. No matter how much water I drink, that's not fair.
I thought you were drinking wine.
I finished my wine, empty.
How did you finish it? It was so gross.
I just got it down. I do think it would be fun when I visit you to have a gross wine thing, like cheap, like $2 chucks.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Like just get a bunch of $2 chucks and
Yeah,
then taste them.
that'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
I also think we got to do that. We got to do a podcast episode live in person with us in the same
It's
place.
gonna be amazing.
I also think we should find a way to do that where we have like a nice steak dinner.
Oh yeah.
Live
Oh,
on
I'm
the
gonna
show.
cook for you. I'm gonna take care
Yeah,
of you.
we just got to put that on the show. Like actually,
Oh,
I think it'd be baller.
it would be baller.
We get super fancy for a day.
Oh, dress up.
Yeah.
Tuxes.
Yeah.
Hold on yards.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Anyway, yeah. So we should probably end that there. Oh wait, we don't have an outro still, do we?